We've all underestimated someone, and we've all been underestimated. It's just part of the human experience. Because we experience the world through our own eyes and perceptions, it's way too easy to misunderstand people and what makes them tick, which means it's very easy to underestimate others. Each of the zodiac signs is often underestimated in very particular ways, and today we'll cover each one of them. Keep watching to find out in which ways the zodiac signs are underestimated. Starting with Aries. Arians don't hate being underestimated as much as they hate people assuming that they can't do something. Someone telling them they're incapable of something is the same as someone telling them what to do, and that's the one thing Arians can't stand. Luckily, people underestimating Aries is not a deterrent of any kind. In fact, it only serves as motivation. Most Aries don't actually care about what others think of them, but they'll go out of their way to prove to others they're more capable and stubborn than given credit for. Next we have Taurus. Tauruses aren't known for being creative. This isn't to say that they're not, but rather that people don't associate that word with them, which is a huge mistake. While Tauruses can and often are inflexible and stubborn, that doesn't mean they're unable to adapt, or better yet, unable to come up with new and unique ideas to achieve their goals. While Taurus doesn't often feel the need to prove other people wrong, or indeed to even care about what others are thinking, they do enjoy achieving things through means other people thought impossible. That way they get to smile smugly while everyone who called them unimaginative scratched their head wondering, what happened? Next, we have Gemini. Because Geminis have a reputation for being flighty and indecisive, most people don't think they have a strong will, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Sure, sometimes Geminis will take their time making up their mind, but once they've decided on something, almost nothing will keep them from getting it. They might appear weak and soft because they're not stoic loners, but this social butterfly has a core of steel. This really comes to shine when it's time to fight for social causes and for others, situations in which no one is able to doubt Gemini anymore. Next, we have Cancer. Because they're tender and loving, Cancers are assumed to be pushovers and incapable of standing up for themselves. While it is true that, in general, Cancers prefer to take the high route and forgive, it's also true that they tend not to forget. And if hurt or insulted grievously enough, they'll bypass the forgiveness bit entirely. People underestimate just how far Cancers are willing to go once they reach a breaking point. If you hurt someone Cancer loves, or you hurt a Cancer enough that they want to get back at you rather than just cut you out, then run. Nothing else will save you. Next, we have Leo. Everyone knows that Leo loves being the center of attention and resent being ignored. What people tend to underestimate, however, is just how far Leos are willing to go to avoid being ignored. That's right, this dramatic sign is even more dramatic than people give them credit for. And if you ever make the mistake of overlooking a Leo, you'll see the truly insane things they're willing to do to get your attention. They'll manipulate, play dirty, lie, and pull every trick in the book just to ensure that they stay at the top of the food chain. And once people think they've exhausted all of their options, they'll magically come up with more. It would be impressive if it wasn't so terrifying. Next, we have Virgo. While Virgos have no problem hyper-focusing on other people's actions, they tend to prefer to fly low and be overlooked. As far as Virgos cares, if people aren't constantly looking at them, they're able to concentrate on doing what they like without any interruptions. Because of this, people tend to underestimate Virgos in general, in the sense that they just don't think much about them at all. This gives Virgos the opportunity to perfect their skills and acquire new ones, which means that they're always surprising people with new skills and talents. Next, we have Libra. Libras are known for being peace-loving and conciliatory, which means people usually underestimate their ability to get things done. It's easy to understand why. If someone is more interested in keeping the peace than in getting results, then you don't really expect much from them. While it's true that Libras will often attempt to find the middle ground, they're not afraid to make hard decisions when the time comes. It may take some time for Libra to settle on something they genuinely support or achieve, but once they do it, they'll do whatever it takes to achieve it. Next, we have Scorpio. Scorpios are known for being cold and calculating, which unfortunately means people often underestimate the depths of their emotions. Scorpios are far more sensitive than people give them credit for, which means it's also easier to hurt them than most people realize. This plays a huge part in why people assume that Scorpios blow things out of proportion or make enemies willy-nilly. They think hurting a Scorpio is almost impossible, while that's nowhere near true. Next, we have Sagittarius. Sagittarians are free thinkers who prefer to live outside the system than to work with it, which means most people underestimate just how skilled Sagittarians are at working it in their favor. Part of the dislike Sagittarians feel for the established order is that they understand it perfectly well and thus choose to keep their distance for their own sanity. Knowing how things work is the very first thing you need to know in order to avoid them, but it also means that, if necessary, you can always use them in your favor. That's how you end with a Sagittarius that, for example, prefers to shop in artisanal boutiques to help the environment and the local economy, but can also find unbelievably good offers in big retail stores without breaking a sweat. Next, we have Capricorn. Quiet and reserved, people tend to assume Capricorns have no sense of humor and that they're the most boring sign in the zodiac. This couldn't be farthest from the truth. While it's true that Capricorns have a rather peculiar sense of humor and are often entertained by very niche things, that doesn't mean Capricorns can't be the life of the party. It just means they go to different parties than you. Capricorns can be witty and downright hilarious when surrounded by the right people. They just need to feel comfortable in their environment and surround themselves with like-minded people. Next, we have Aquarius. People tend to underestimate just how in touch Aquarians are with their emotions, which is a completely misplaced assumption. While Aquarians aren't exactly comfortable discussing their emotions, they're perfectly in touch with them and understand what they're feeling and why they're feeling that way. The fact that they don't trust most people enough to share these emotions doesn't mean they're unaware of them. Next, we have Pisces. While it's true that Pisces tend to see the world with rose-colored glasses, people assume this means they live in their own head, which couldn't be farther from the truth. Yes, Pisces would rather live in a more humane, friendlier world, but they're well aware of the kind of world they live in and know how to play the part that's expected from them. They're idealists, yes, but they're smart enough to have a plan and play dumb until it's time to strike and turn that plan into a reality.